Hey, good morning, Year 12. We just got a few kind of short inputs for you this morning in our assembly. Emma's going to do her thing. Mr. Shaw pops up again, still no baby, or at least not when we go to press on Wednesday for this thing. But you've got to watch his very short little thing because there's a very cute kid wandering around in the background trying to destroy it. Um, Miss Isaac's got some really important stuff on your next stage of progression research, and then it'll be back to me for a short little philosophical ramble, really. I'm going to leave it to the end in case you've lost patience by that point and don't feel the need for my kind of wisdom and inspiration on a Thursday morning. Okay, so Emma.
Morning! Welcome to Assembly Week 2 of Weird Lockdown Term. Hope you're all okay. I'm still missing seeing you all and having you bumble past my office and wave or go past my window checking your hair. So it's nice to virtually be able to say hi to you all again this week. Thanks for getting in touch if you've been in touch, and I hope that you're all doing okay. If you're not, make sure that you are telling us. Helen and I are available on our cool school burner phones. Or by email, etc. So you can get in touch. So it's been really nice to hear from some of you this week. This week's good mental health tip is about laughter. So I've got some new glasses, which you may think are quite extreme, and some of you may be laughing at my new glasses, which would be rude. But if that isn't making you laugh, and they are a serious pair of glasses, so they're not really about laughter, but if they aren't making you laugh, then laughter is really good for you. It releases your body's natural endorphins. It actually increases immune cells and infection fighting antibodies, so that's in these days quite a good thing. It can temporarily relieve pain. Laughing can actually just really affect how we feel in a day. If we've had a good belly laugh or cried with laughter, that can actually just make your day feel so much better. So get online to somebody who makes you laugh, and chat to them and just talk about funny things that have happened, or talk to your family about, oh, do you remember the time grandpa fell in the lake? That happened to me one time. My granddad was stuck between a boat and the pier, and then he fell in, and it was funny because he's quite serious and he's not very cheery, so that was pretty funny for the rest of us. But yeah, tell each other funny stories, watch Friends or other funny things that make you laugh, watch amazing fail videos on YouTube, those are pretty funny. But laughter definitely promotes good mental health. So I know it's hard in this time. I know that this is a weird time and things are uncertain, and last week we talked about how we cope with change, and whether our attitude to that affects that, and laughing and making each other laugh is actually really good for our mental health. And so do as much of that as you can this week, and see if you can challenge yourself to make other people laugh. See if you can challenge yourself to find new things that make you laugh. But laughter promotes good mental health. So I hope you're all okay, and I hope you are finding things that are funny in this time. I mean, if nothing else, just watch some Donald Trump videos. He's pretty funny. Yeah, so I hope you're all okay. Get in touch if you're not, and take care. Stay safe, everyone. Bye.
Hello and welcome back. I hope you're all okay. Just so you know straight away, I've set myself the additional challenge this week of filming this while my two sons are around and awake. So just so you know, hopefully they're not too distracting. Firstly, schoolwork. Well done. The vast majority of you, from what I've heard from teachers, are meeting all our expectations, which is brilliant. I know from speaking with quite a lot of you myself, and Josie's conversations, I know that there are ups and downs, aren't there? There are some times when you're more on top of work than at other times, but the vast majority of you are keeping on top of stuff, which is brilliant. I know some students are maybe not, and of course we are there to support and encourage. We might call students, we have called students, and so therefore do keep an eye on your mobile. It might be that you'll see a withheld call, withheld number, and that will be no doubt us. So do pick up if your phone's going and it's a withheld number. We're calling just really to support and encourage. Second of all, mocks. Mocks are happening. They are definitely happening. So all the work you're doing is preparing for those and revisiting Year 12 content, as well as doing the lessons set, will pay off. So we're going to come back to you very soon with the plans. SLT are finalising them as we speak. So yeah, we'll come back to you as soon as possible with the mock plan. And third of all, I just wanted to say a particular well done to our Envision students. So I know I sent out an email a little bit earlier in the week from our Envision, from particularly from the specifically from the Bristol Climate Project, who are doing some incredible work promoting their petition and their Instagram account. So do have a look through that. Do sign the petition if you agree with their work. Well done, particularly to those students. I know things are not easy at the moment to organise stuff like that. So really, really well done. So yeah, keep us updated if we can do anything to help. And take care. See you soon.
Back to personal statements. So in week 2, we reviewed the basics of what a personal statement is, how long it needs to be. You can find this information on the sixth form section of the school website if you want to have another look at week 2 information. This week we're going to think about starting to write a first draft. Now, normally we would be doing this when we return to school in June after mock exams and study leave, but as things are a bit different this year, we've decided to just bring it forward a bit so you can start writing these while you're at home at the moment. So when we return to school and things are probably a little bit busy with your academic subjects, we've got more time to then just review these and look at second drafts and so on, rather than starting from scratch. Let's have a look at this week. So starting your personal statement is the hardest bit. So UCAS have helped us by creating a really useful personal statement writing tool. So this is a really great place to start. It's got 3 sections on the left-hand side, and each of these will provide you with a box to write your answer, and then it will start populating on the right-hand side. So for example, start typing here and it will form a nice sort of structured thing on the right-hand side. Now, you won't necessarily be able to answer all of these questions at this stage, which is absolutely fine. So, for example, why are you applying for your chosen course? You probably haven't fully decided what you want to study yet, and that's absolutely fine. So just leave any blank that you're unsure of, but you should be able to answer enough that you will create your first draft here. And once you've done that, create your PDF or copy and paste the information into a Word or Google Doc and save that. And I recommend that you email that first draft over the next couple of weeks to your tutor to get some feedback. And it might be that it's not long enough yet, you might just have a couple of paragraphs, or you might have way too much information. And that's either of those is absolutely fine. That's why we sort of redraft these several times. Now, if we go back here to some of these questions, we've got some really great examples on our progression site of some personal statements. So let's just take a look at those. So I showed you this a couple of weeks ago. This has got lots of really great information for if you're planning to apply for university, for apprenticeships, taking a gap year. So do have a look at all of the information. Now, if we click on the personal statement tab, let's try that again. There we go. That will take us here, and that has got lots of additional information, a video from UCAS that's well worth a watch, and then some examples down here. So if I click on this link, it will take you to several examples from some of our own Redcliffe students. And have a look at a couple of these. They're all quite different, as obviously there are personal statements, they're personal to you, but that will give you a good idea about what the sort of final product looks like. Hopefully that's useful. If you feel that you need to spend a bit more time researching and attending university webinars and signing up for virtual open days, then that's absolutely fine. Don't rush this, but do have this in the back of your mind that you need to start thinking about the first draft of your personal statement if you can over the next couple of weeks. And like we've said all along, if this is a struggle, if you're struggling to keep up with things, not a problem. Just communicate this to your tutor. And I'll see you next week. Bye.
Right, back to me again. We sent you out some stuff recently about extended projects and all that kind of thing. I hope that you're beginning to think about if that would be right for you and what you might do if so. And it's made me think about some of the ones that I've been reading from the current year 13s, which we've just had in and we're getting in the process of marking. There's one in particular done by a year 13 student that was looking at the concept of freedom. It's really interesting. It was comparing ideas of freedom within Christian culture and Muslim culture and general kind of Western cultural ideas of freedom, which is really very fascinating kind of way to go. And it drew on a particularly interesting philosopher that I've always been fascinated by, a guy called Isaiah Berlin. And he, in 1969, when I was only 3, he wrote a book called Two Concepts of Liberty, which those of you thinking of doing EPQs might find a really useful reference for the future. So Isaiah Berlin, Two Concepts of Liberty. And Berlin distinguishes what he calls positive liberty and negative liberty. And it's a really simple distinction. He describes negative liberty as an absence of obstacles or barriers or constraints. And this is really dominant in our Western culture. We like to think we're free when nothing is stopping us doing the thing we want to do, when there is no barriers, no obstacles, or no constraints. You can see where I'm going with this, don't you? And concept of positive liberty, he distinguishes from that. And he says positive liberty is something more internal. It's the capacity to act in ways which exercise control of one's life, which arise from your best interests and motivations, which realize one's own fundamental goals and purposes. So you're acting in positive liberty when you are most truly and fully you. Embodying who you are and pursuing your goals and purposes in life. And the interesting thing with that, in the situation that we're in now, we're experiencing clearly a massive reduction in what Berlin calls our negative liberty, our freedom to do all the things that we would want to do. And it's very easy to therefore think that we've lost everything. And that's because our culture loads this concept of negative liberty so heavily. If you're not able to do all the things you want to do, go with places you want to go, etc., then you're not really free. You can already see that that's a concept of liberty which is quite discriminatory in some ways. If you're privileged, if you can travel, if you have money, well, then you can be free. If you can wear the right stuff, go the right places, go to the right clubs, well, then you can be free. But if you're not, then you can't really. And that's quite worrying and problematic for me, I think. And those of you who study subjects like sociology and so on will already be thinking, yeah, there's sort of Marxist ideas of freedom being compromised by oppression, there's feminist ideas of freedom being compromised by patriarchy, and all of these things feed into this concept that Berlin uses of positive liberty, empowerment to be what you're capable of being. Just as some illustrations, and an easy example, for example, would be an addict. An addict is somebody who is always free to have the next cigarette or whatever. The problem is they can't not. They lack the capacity to do the thing they really want to do, which is to stop. And their freedom to pick it up is not really the thing. It's their freedom to put it down that they lack. Looking at it from the other end, you can also reflect on lots of the examples that we might find, for example, in faith traditions, in monks or recluses of all sorts of faith traditions. It's a very common teaching within faith traditions that true freedom is an inner thing. It comes from your inner empowerment. And you can see that in other places too. Some of you may know the story of, from the 80s, I think, 3 people, one a journalist, a couple of other guys, John McCarthy, Terry Waite and Brian Keenan, who were taken hostage by terrorists in Lebanon, in Beirut, and were locked locked in solitary confinement, chained to radiators for a number of years. And eventually they got out and came back. And it's not that they said that was a great experience and they would want to do it again, but they did say that actually they learned to realize that actually your level of freedom is really nothing very much to do. The kind of real freedom, the true freedom that matters, is compatible with any amount of external restrictions or constraints. They found a freedom. They found a kind of freedom in that context of being locked to a radiator. You might think of somebody like Nelson Mandela, locked away for many years on Robben's Island, but found something in that context which was empowering and liberating of him. So I suppose the point I want to link this back to in our current situation is particularly related to your situation and my situation. The adolescent brain is a fascinating thing, and a number of things have emerged from research about it. The adolescent brain, it has very low impulse control. It wants to take risks and do daft and adventurous things. The adolescent brain has a very high and strong drive towards independence. And there are really good evolutionary reasons for this, because actually you are being geared up to be the kind of risk-taking, adventurous people that as adults you need to be if you're going to sort of pilot a course in life. But what that means is that in those situations where, like this one, you are lacking the capacity for control, lacking the capacity for independence, various very deeply hardwired reflexes kick in. There's a reflex towards withdrawal or retreat from the situation, a reflex towards anger, a reflex towards blame, and these are completely understandable. They really are deeply, deeply drilled into you. And you may notice some of that in yourself. So I suppose when we think about what it is to be free, you can't go the places you want to go, do the things that you want to do. But that's not really the kind of freedom that's going to matter in this context. You need to ask yourself, do I have the right kind of freedom? Do I have positive liberty or not? Am I acting in ways that are reflective, that are purposeful, that flow from who I really am and want to be? Or am I being pulled and pushed by forces and drives within me that are making me do things that are not really the real me? Because freedom flows ultimately from a number of things. That positive and really proper freedom that we all want in our lives, the empowering freedom. It flows from mindfulness, not just that kind of being mindful of what's going on around you, but mindful of your motivations, mindful of the pressures at work on you, mindful of the impulses that are taking control of you. That can lead to self-awareness, and that once you're beginning to think in this kind of a way, then it can lead to a determination to go differently to that, a determination and then a self-control to start to take the decisions and the courses of action that are going to help you. And these are all quite hard things to do. I find them really hard. I'm sure you do too. They are all things that we need help with. So if you kind of feel, at the moment I just feel trapped, I'm not sure quite why or what to do about it, that is all completely normal. And all I would say is it is possible to find a different state of mind in this state of entrapment. It is possible to find a positive liberty in this situation where the obstacles and barriers and constraints are there. And we have really good people who could help you to do that. So if you think you just need to talk on the phone to somebody or whatever else it is, have an email exchange, then contact Emma or Helen or your head of year or your tutor and say, I just need to talk about this. And hopefully that might help you. So there you go. That was a big, long ramble. All the best. Have a good week. We'll be in touch soon, and I promise you with some information about assessments and things in the future. Okay, bye-bye.